Jason Clemmons, DC. We are live again tonight. Thank you guys for sticking with us last week. We had two shows last week that we got pre-recorded for you, and the one on Friday over xylitol. Appreciate you guys watching that. If you guys hadn't seen it, it's a good one to go back and watch. You can go check it out and learn a little bit about xylitol. It's a sneaky little thing they put in food that is may cause some clots, according to the article that we went over. But yeah, we had those shows recorded. I went to Dallas this weekend and went to NeuroCon. It was a neurology seminar. It was great. It was great to see the people that I got to see. The seminar was weird, but it was really fun to be back on campus at Parker University. Now, when I went to school there in Dallas, Texas, it was called Parker College of Chiropractic, and that's all it was just chiropractic. And they've had some changes. They've moved into the new times. It's been 20 years since I was there, and they've had some changes in leadership. They've had some changes in vision and where they're going with things. And so they have now become Parker University, and they offer multiple different degree plans. If you got some kids that want to go to a good school, learn some things about health, be around people that are doing some things, and the vision they have is really fantastic. It's different than what it was when I was in school, but it's really cool to see what they're doing for the students. You just have to, if you're a chiropractic student there, you just have to kind of find your, you just need a little bit of guidance. You just need a little bit of guidance getting through there, because you could get lost in some of the stuff that's going on there now. But man, if you understand the absolute awesome opportunity that you have, you can set yourself up for really cool things in the future. And then they showed us some of the things that they were going to build there. They have a human performance center, and some of the technology that they have at Parker University, it's second to none in the world. The president of Parker used to work at Walter Reed Hospital. I think that's in Washington, D.C. He used to work there, and he used to see all those wounded veterans that would come back from war, and lots of amputees, lots of wounded guys. And so he's had a little bit of a different experience. Yeah, Bethesda, Maryland, right there. So he's had a little bit of a different experience in treating people, and so he got to work there at Walter Reed in the middle of all that stuff, where they make a lot of those or the whatever you call those things, just my mind went blank. Prosthetics, where they make all those prosthetics, and where they treat those people, it's like right there in the middle of all of it. So they have lots of high technology there. They have lots of cool stuff, and he has brought a lot of that stuff with him to Parker University. And it was super cool to see what they're doing. They've got hyperbaric chambers. They've got they're putting in a complete heart cardiac center there to study the heart and the nervous system and how they work together. They're putting in they've got a place where you can actually they have a place where you can actually set the altitude of where you want to work out. So if you want to put somebody in high altitude, it's like a room that they can assimilate high altitudes, low altitudes, all that sort of thing. Put you on there and just work you right together right there. So hang on for me 1 second. Hang on. Sorry about that. When you do a live show in your office and there's still patients in your office, and sometimes it's loud. So I apologize for that. If you guys were listening to that on the show, sorry, I had to go shut the door right quick and try to get it to calm down a little bit. So anyway, the technology that they have at Parker and what they're doing at Parker College is really super cool. And I was glad to be back on campus because it was really a lot of fun to be there. And I went there for one main purpose. Uh, the main reason is because Andrew Huberman was there, and he was the keynote speaker on Friday night. And I tell you, I was very impressed with Dr. Huberman. He got right to the point. He got on it. He got on stage. He went to work. He answered the questions. He was very serious about the answers. He was very serious about what he was trying to bring to us. And it was one solid hour of information I'm sure the questions he had seen the questions beforehand, so he knew what he was going to be talking about. But I was very appreciative of Dr. Huberman and the way that he approached that and the way that he spoke to us, and it gave us that information that we need. Thanks, JT. Yeah, but that's why I went. But I got to see my two good friends from Roswell, MJ and T. Lewis. They went. There's two students, Nate and Shaylee, that are in school. Nate most likely will go back and work in Roswell with MJ and T, and Shaylee is scheduled to work with us. We'll see how it all works out. I hope that we stick to that. But we kind of moved her into school, so we're going to stay with her as long as she wants us to. But we got to see them and spend the weekend with them. So it was very refreshing to get to see young students, Tri-3 students, going through the whole thing. And then we got to spend the time with MJ and T. So we would go to the seminar together. We would listen to the speakers. We'd go eat lunch. We'd come back, listen to the speakers. We'd go have supper together and hang out and just talk about. It was so good because the young guys that they were. Sometimes you can get lost a little bit in chiropractic school. Like you could just have. There's just so much stuff coming at you, especially now. And then since COVID happened, and they have all these online classes and all this sort of thing, it's just a little bit overwhelming because you don't get it's. When we were there, it was just solid chiropractic the whole time. There wasn't anything else going on campus. I loved it. I actually loved my time at Parker College. It was the best educational experience I'd ever been around. And I had a master's degree. I went to Eastern New Mexico. I went to Texas Tech. I went to New Mexico State. I went back to Texas Tech. I was in college for 9 years before I went to to Parker College. You can't. There's one thing that you can't question. I am educated. I sometimes don't feel very smart. I'm not saying I'm very smart, but I have been to college for a long time, and so it was really cool when I was there because it was just so much chiropractic. Well, now they've got all kinds of different things that are going there, and so it was really good for the students to get to be with us. We went up into a classroom. We adjusted each other. We worked on them. We let them work on us. We taught them how, some adjustment moves, some things that we do with our hands. And then there was another doc that just happened to be in the room, and he was an awesome adjuster. And so he was helping us out and sharing some tips and all that sort of thing with them. So really was an inspiring weekend. It really was. It was fun. It was good to see all those guys. It was good to go back to where our roots were. And it was an inspiring weekend. So that's why we were off the show Thursday. We were pre-recorded the show. Hopefully, Thursday's show kind of got backwards, so I might have sent that to Bob the wrong way. But the end of the show went first, and then the second segment went. It was supposed to be switched, and I'm sure I sent that to him wrong. So it doesn't matter. You just listen to both segments, and you got the whole show. You just listen to them in different orders. That's all. And then Friday night show, we did that on Xylitol, which I think the shows went out pretty good. And so we might, if I could figure out some time, carve out some time during the day, we might actually do that more often. But what did I learn this weekend? Um, well, I learned some things, and that's what I wanted to talk to you about. I just wanted to talk to you about all the things that I learned this weekend that so I could bring them to you. I was just thinking while I was there, I was like, man, I got to talk about this on the show, and then I got to talk about this on the show, and man, I need to bring that to the people on the show. Just things. So I thought I would just go through tonight and just talk about some things, and then I want to just reiterate some things from the books that we have, because one of the themes that kept coming through the whole weekend, the thing that was different about this, usually when you go to a chiropractic seminar, you're getting lots of speakers who are chiropractors. They're talking to you about the things that they do in their office. They're talking to you about the things that they learn. There's lots of that stuff going on. Sometimes you'll get different professions and stuff. Well, this weekend I listened to several chiropractors speak, but I listened to a medical doctor from Harvard speak. Super nice guy. Really would love to have an opportunity to visit with this guy. Um, Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, Jeffrey Rediger, Rediger, MD, Jeffrey Rediger. And it's strengthen your immune system and heal your life. And it was really cute. It was really cute because he was so sincere and he was such a nice guy. Like you could tell, he was just a really nice human being. At least that's the way he came off. He came off as a really nice human being, and he was so honest and sincere about what he was saying. And but he's a medical doctor from Harvard. Like let me just see if I can find him, because I think you guys would think this is great. Rediger. So see if I could just find a little bit about him. He's a remarkable figure in the world of medicine. He blends traditional medical practices with a profound understanding of spirituality, healing, and human potential. As a Harvard trained psychiatrist and faculty member at Harvard Medical School, Dr. Rediger has dedicated his career to exploring the mysteries of spontaneous remission, extraordinary healing, and the mind body connection. One of his books is called Cured, The Life Changing Science of Spontaneous Healing. In this captivating work, he delves into stories of individuals who have experienced miraculous recoveries from seemingly incurable illnesses. Through meticulous research, compassionate storytelling, and insightful analysis, Dr. Rediger sheds light on the complex interplay between belief, biology, and the healing process. His holistic approach to healing sets Cured apart from other medical literature. He recognizes that true healing extends beyond the physical body, encompassing emotional, spiritual, and social dimensions as well. By exploring the multifaceted nature of healing through a lens of science and spirituality, he offers readers a comprehensive understanding of what it takes to overcome adversity and reclaims one's health. It was so cute because he was such a nice dude. He just came across that way. I never met him before, but he came across as such a really nice guy. And what he was talking about was, as a trained medical doctor and as a psychiatrist, he's been trained up in the medical world. He's been trained up in the medicine world. He's been trained up in the pharmaceutical world. He's been trained up by a system that trains him in a pharmaceutical manner and that tries to teach him that the all high and mighty scientific method that goes along with this high and mighty, you're only evidence based if you do these certain things. All that, not him, but that whole philosophy and arrogance that goes along with this whole medical world, and that's what he got raised up in, and that's what he got trained in. And then all of a sudden, when he got to a certain point, he started seeing people that started getting well by changing their diet, exercising, saying their prayers, getting their sleep, doing their doing all their wellness things. And it was just really cute. It was like, I just wanted to give him a big hug. That's what Katie said. She's like, it's just like to give him a hug. And I'm like, I know. You just like to give him a hug and say, hey, Doc, welcome to the party, man. I'm so glad you made it to hey, I'm glad you're here. I'm glad. Come on over. Talk to us about this stuff. Tell us what you know. Because it was like, I just looked over and Katie looked back at me and she's like, this is what we do every day. And I said, I know. That's what I've been doing every day for 20 years. That's what we teach on the show. We just talk about, hey, people have spontaneous healings when they do things that are healthy. Like they put themselves in an environment that's congruent with health, and then they get healthier. That is a crazy thought to a lot of people out there. There's a lot of people out there that do not understand that. And you may be one of them. You may be one of those people that absolutely do not understand that. Like, you think that the way you heal yourself is to take your blood pressure medication and get your blood pressure down, and therefore your body's healed. You're in good shape. One of my patients last week got a clean bill of health from her medical doctor. She's got degeneration all over her spine. She's got a bad knee. She's overweight. She's got all kinds. She eats dessert every meal or every day. She's got all kinds of things going on with her. But she's got cholesterol medication that keeps her cholesterol down, and she's got blood pressure medication that keeps her blood pressure down. And that's a clean bill of health. In that world, it is. And if you're living that same world, you might have that same thing. Like that might be something you might, hey, I am healthy. And what you really mean is I am asymptomatic on the parts of the things that I can feel. Right? That's really what we mean, right? When we say I'm healthy, what we're really saying is, for most people, what they're really saying is I'm asymptomatic. I just don't have any symptoms. It's like, okay, well, that doesn't mean you're healthy. Well, I got to take my metformin and it keeps my blood sugar down. No, sir. You're not healthy. You're on your way to crashing and burning with that deal, right? So it was just cute. It was cute to have him come over. It was cute to listen to him. It was interesting because I was like, wow, I'm okay. I mean, I don't know who for sure he was talking to in that. I don't know why Parker College had him there. Because I'm not saying we're trying to create some sort of relationship with Harvard, which is cool. That's fine. But it was an interesting conversation. And the biggest thing I took from that is that's the world we live in today. That's what people think health is. People think they go to their doctor checks them out and gives them a clean bill of health after their doctor gives them the pharmaceuticals that they have. One of my girls today told me that she'd been telling her kids that they have growing pains. That's why their legs hurt. And I mentioned one time that I don't really think that's such a thing. I don't really buy into that idea. You got growing pains. You're growing and you have pain. Okay. But I don't think that's why you have growing pains. I think you have growing pains because you have abnormal function. And you have abnormal function because of physical, chemical, and mental emotional stress. The combination of it. And it might not be so much mental emotional stress in a young kid, but it might be physical and chemical. And so this child goes and gets their physical to start athletics, and their pediatrician tells them that, hey, you're growing, you're going to hurt, you're going to have pain. And so the mom comes and tells me that today because she was trying to tell me that, hey, at least she got confirmation because that's what she's been saying. And I love the mom, man. I love the kids. I've been taking care of them since they were little bitty, since born. I've like the first one. The first one's like he's a junior in high school, maybe, or a senior, junior or senior. Maybe he's going to be a junior this year. And he started in my office with ear infections when he was a tiny little dude, like 18 months old, I think is how old he was. So I've been taking care of their family forever. And I adjusted the second baby and the third baby and the mom and the dad. I love them to death. They're a cute family. They're good people. But what my point is that when you take your child to the pediatrician, you're going to hear the sentences that go along with that philosophy. If you take your child to the chiropractor, you're going to hear the sentences that go along with the philosophy of the chiropractor. Right? You take your child to church, you're going to hear the philosophy that goes along with the church. It's just the way it goes. I mean, that's life. Right? The thing about it in the wellness world and in the pediatric world, in the pediatrician world, is that we're almost 100% opposite of each other. We're 180 degrees opposite in the way that we look at stuff. I never took my daughter to the pediatrician. After her 1 year well check, she never been back to the pediatrician. She didn't need to go to the pediatrician. Why? Because she was well. And did she have a fever? Yes. There was times she had a fever. 103.5. She had a fever. Is she well still? Or is she sick? No. She's well. That's going to get deep in some philosophy tonight. But what is the definition of a fever? Why do you get a fever? Because your innate intelligence detected that you had a bacteria or a virus, and your innate intelligence is attacking that bacteria or a virus. What do I need a pediatrician involved in that for? I don't. Not in my house. I don't need that. I don't need a pediatrician involved in that. My daughter doesn't need a pharmaceutical involved in that. That's the spirit of God inside of her body that's attacking that virus. I'm just going to step back and observe and make sure. I'm just going to make sure that it's not the virus causing some sort of problem, that it's actually the Spirit of God that's working. And as long as it's the Spirit of God that's working, I'm going to humble myself to the intelligence that's way greater than I am, and I'm going to stay out of it right there. That's not what most people are going to do. Most people are going to take their child, as soon as that fever gets to 101 or 99 or something, then the very next morning they're going to take their child to the pediatrician, and they're going to get the pediatrician involved in the Spirit of God working inside their child's body, right? Why are they going to do that? Because that's the way they were taught to do it. Because that's what the system has been designed to do since they started blitzed. And Dr. Flexner went on that trip from Mr. Carnegie, and the whole medical system was born. That's when it all started. That's when pediatrician had to get involved in a child's ability to fight a virus, right? I know it sounds like I'm bitter or something. I'm not. I'm not bitter at all. I'm just that you're going to get a different experience when you go to a sick care based doctor than you are if you go to a wellness based doctor. It doesn't mean the sick care doctor is a bad person. It doesn't mean that they're wrong. It doesn't mean that they're wrong. Doesn't mean you can't play the game that way. None of those things. It's just not the same. It's just not the same as whether or not you're going to take antibiotics for things, and whether or not you're gonna. Why would you take antibiotics for a virus in the first place? It doesn't work on a virus. And why would you take some sort of anti-fever medication if fever was created by God? Maybe you don't believe in God. Okay, that's fair enough. Maybe you really don't believe in the power of the body to heal itself. That's fair enough too. I probably wouldn't believe it either had I not gone to chiropractic school. Had I not been working in it in the last 24 years and seeing it firsthand about how it works, I might not have either. So anyway, let's don't get too far off of that. We got about a minute and a half before we get back. We listened to a pharmacist speak. Very, very interesting sentences that came out of that guy's mouth. He seemed like a really cool dude too, but very interesting sentences. We listened to some PhDs speak that were really good, and I'm going to get to them And then we listened to another guy speak that had lots of concussions and was a college football player. He was actually a football player from Harvard, and he talked about concussions with your kids and what's going on with the kids and how concussions work. So we're going to get into all that right after the break. We're going to talk about all those different things as soon as we come back. We got about 40 seconds, and we'll take our break, and then we'll come back. So, hey, if you got any questions, you got any comments, send them to us. We're getting some comments on the text line. I appreciate that, JT. 806-794-0400 is our text line. So if you want to send us a text, feel free to do that. And if you want to make a comment on Facebook or X or any of our other shows, feel free to do that as well. So we will be right back. I'm going to take us to this break. And then for you guys on the radio, stick with us. We'll be right back with Life with Jason Clemmons, DC, right after these messages on 98.7 Walk by Faith Radio. Yeah, the pharmacist was a super smart guy, and super fit dude, big old muscle back, but big strong guy. Just came out and immediately, first thing he said was, "I want to just recognize my Lord and Savior about something." So good Christian dude, you can tell he had lots of conviction. But man, he said some things. That were very interesting. And one of the things that he said was that there's no evidence that fructose is bad for you. And he kind of said it at the end of his talk, and he was like, "I wouldn't worry about any fructose drinks. Go ahead, like no problems." And that is really contradictory to all the things that we talk about on the show. That's been factual since 2009. Dr. Lustig broke that whole thing down, how fructose is only metabolized in the liver, and the fructose metabolism. There is some conversion of fructose to glucose in the gut, but the majority of that is going to the liver, and you're going to get all kinds of inflammation in the liver from fructose, and you're going to get like the VLD, you're going to get citrate that's going to cause VLDL cholesterol, so you're going to have heart disease from fructose in the liver. To me that's a big deal. And white sugar is 50% glucose and 50% fructose. So when you split that bond between the two of them, and now all of a sudden you've got 50% of those calories from fructose that are going straight to your liver, then you're going to get that inflammation from your liver, and it's going to show up in your body. So I didn't really understand what he was trying to teach us on that deal. That was quite surprising. There's a lot of researchers saying that fructose is not a good idea. He also said sugar is not addictive, and it's like, okay, whatever, sugar is what we search for when our left hemisphere is not working. That's really the truth. But so that was kind of surprising. The pharmacist, and it's not because he was a pharmacist. Like I was interested. I was kind of interested while a pharmacist was talking to us, but I'm fine. I mean, he had some things that were pretty good points to say. It's just funny that the medical doctor and the pharmacist was kind of like, that's interesting pieces of information that we got. Let me get us back on the radio. Okay, everybody, we're back. This is Life with Jason Clemmons, DC, and we're talking about the seminar I went to this weekend and some of the things that I learned. And the next guy, his name is Nowinski. See if I can find him. Yeah, Christopher Nowinski, American professional wrestler. And really, really interesting. He is PhD and co-founder and the CEO of Concussion Legacy Foundation, a nonprofit organization leading the fight against concussions and CTE and dedicated to improving the lives of those impacted. An all Ivy Harvard football player turned WWE professional wrestler turned neuroscientist, Chris discovered the concussion crisis is the hard way. A 2003 kick to the chin in a WWE match ended his career, causing post concussion syndrome and sending him to the office of his eventual CLF co founder, Dr. Robert Cantu. Through Dr. Cantu, Chris was first exposed to medical research that revealed to him that concussions and brain trauma were misunderstood in the sports world. And Chris did a good job of giving us the history of, of concussions and talking about concussions with, they have a program where he tried to, uh, he tries to not let a kid get a concussion before the age of 14. And um, if you go to his page, you can go to chrisnowinski.com, ChrisNowinski.com. I'll say it one more time. Chris, ChrisNowinski.com. And you can learn about him. You can learn about his the things that he has written about, all this stuff. But right on the very front page, it's just got a picture of him. He was a defensive tackle at Harvard. He earned his doctorate in behavioral neuroscience from Boston University School of Medicine and has authored more than 40 scientific publications. And so he's really, really passionate and really works hard to explain to us the mechanisms of a concussion and the different things that happen in a concussion and how real those things are. Um, and, you know, he had a really good point about concussions because they add up. And concussion, he wrote a book called Head Games, and he was very, very influential in the NFL changing their policy on concussions. He has gone before Congress. He's talked about concussions. He's talked about the damaging effects that happens on kids. And if you have a child that's and I don't even understand why it's 14. I don't know the significance of 14. I might have to see if I can try to read a little bit more about it. But because I don't understand why, I don't understand really why it makes a difference if it's 14 or 24 or 44. You don't want that to happen. Now, I know football is big in Texas, and it was big in my life, and um, it's been big. There's a lot going on out there, but there's some things that you might could do to mitigate head banging. And number one could be the way that we practice. If you're coaching a little league team, if you're coaching a junior high team, if you're coaching a varsity team, there's some things, or a college team, there's some things that we can do in practice to decrease the amount of head trauma that a player gets while they're practicing. Like, that's a big deal. That's a really big deal because those things accumulate. And there's some definite damage that's done to the brain with a concussion. I think we'll probably spend some more time talking about this particular guy and what he did, and how he just the things that he shared with us about concussions. Because just a little bit of one of his articles right here, chronic traumatic encephalopathy encephalopathy. Sorry. A CTE is a neurodegenerative disease associated with history of repetitive head impacts. CTE was described in boxers as early as the 1920s, and by the 1950s, it was widely accepted that hits to the head caused some boxers to become, quote, punch drunk. And he actually showed some of that stuff. And if you look at all those old boxers, you look at like Muhammad Ali and what he's been like for the last, I don't know, 20, 30 years of his life. Um, and a lot of those guys that took all those shots to the head, it does a lot of damage. It says, however, the recent discovery that CTE in American and Australian rules football, soccer, rugby, ice hockey, and other sports has resulted in a renewed debate on whether the relationship between repetitive head injury and CTE is causal. And there's some argument. You'll get some argument. The NFL was a long time around that. The Australian League football league was really FIFA with the World Soccer Organization was still won't say it out loud. They won't say that it's causal, and there's really no question that it's causal. There's no question that there's an increased amount of CTE in people that bang their heads, and whatever reason you bang your head, but more than likely you're going to bang your head in a contact sport. So it's identifying the strength. This is his article. Identifying the strength of the evidential relationship between CTE and repetitive head trauma is implications for public health and medical issues. From a public health perspective, environmentally caused diseases can be mitigated or prevented. Medico-legally, millions of children are exposed to repetitive head impacts through sports participation. This demographic is too young to legally consent to any potential long-term risk associated with this exposure. I've just seen it my whole life. I experienced it as a child, constantly hitting your head. Little league guys doing that. If you're coaching a little league team, your child is on a little league team, there's just no reason to do that. There's no reason to have in practice repetitive head trauma. You would hope that you could manage yourself in practice well enough to get you through a game without having a head trauma. And if you do have a head trauma in a game, there are really specific ways that you should treat a concussion. A concussion is not made up. It's not a lack of toughness if you get a concussion. It is something that is real. Now, when do you get that concussion? There's different ways that you can test it. That's one of the reasons in our office we use the pupillary light reflex. We use the Reflex Pro pupillary light reflex. It's the same thing they use at Parker University in their Human Performance Center. They use that same thing. It is a sign of it's pupillary. Your pupil is that black spot in the middle of your eye, and it is a measurement of the reactivity of the pupil to light. And there's a lot of information that we can get from that to determine if the pupils are responding properly or if they're not responding properly. And so that is a big deal. That's a big deal to your child or your grandchild. It really is a big deal. And the less we can have that happen, the better off we're going to be as time goes on from a brain standpoint. And you start to add those things up as you move through high school, as you move through college, as you move into the pros. And then there's a lot of evidence that after a certain time, you get into the pros, and it's after age 25 or something like that. Each time you get one really starts adding up. Now, I know that there's not many people that are going to go to the pros, but there's a lot of kids that are going to get ready to start junior high football or high school football. And it would be really nice for the coaches to take responsibility and not do that in practice. I was one of those coaches at Texas Tech. We did that every day. And not knowing what I didn't know then what I know now about it, we would have practiced completely different. There's no way I would have done what I used to do if I would have known back then what I know now. So um, that's all I'm going to say on concussions. No, it's not. I want to say one more thing about concussions. One simple thing that you could do for your child that's going to be in a contact sport is to get their neck muscles stronger. If you can increase their neck muscles, make their necks stronger, it has a high correlation with whether or not the child gets a concussion. When they're in a whiplash type situation, if they get hit and knocked on their back, if they get tackled and they're moving around and their head is sloshing around, their brain is smashing in the inside of their skull, that's really not good for them. It's bad. But one of the things that mitigates that a little bit. One of the things that we can do to keep that from happening is to make sure that our neck muscles are strong, especially if we're wearing a football helmet, because a football helmet's heavy, and in your neck, if your neck's not, then you're just flopping your head around, especially in a young child. So that is something that you can do for your child to make sure that they decrease their chances of getting a concussion, is get their neck to be strong. We use an iron neck here in the office. You can look that up. You can Google it, an iron neck, and it'll show you exactly what an iron neck is. And you can but there's all kinds of ways. Remember, we used to push our heads forward and we used to push our heads back, and we'd have a partner and they'd push against us and we'd strengthen our neck, go through some different, hold us up by our face mask. We used to do that when I was in Little League. Used to hold us up by our face mask and make us have to contract our neck to try to keep our neck strong. Off-season work is the time to do a lot of that, keep your neck strong. And that's all. That's all I wanted to say on the concussions. I have a feeling we will come back to several of these concussion articles and talk a little bit more about concussions as the week goes on. But just want to take Chris Nowinski. He did a good job with bringing. He didn't bring us neuroscience, which we were a little disappointed with in the beginning, but he did do a good job of bringing us information about concussions to try to come home and spread the news to you guys about concussions, and that's a big deal. And it's not just in football. I've had several patients, that kids of mine that are playing, the patients that I take care of that play soccer, like heading a ball in soccer, that really ought to just take it out of your game. You ought to just come up with another move. I don't know what it is because I've never played soccer, but you ought to come up with another move that replaces the heading of it. And I don't know if they ought to change the rules. Maybe you can use your elbow or something on the ball instead of your head, or something that would be different. But I don't think it's a good idea. Using it in the game, I think that you should take that out of, especially for kids. You should take it out of there. But I'm not a soccer guy, not a soccer coach, so I'm just trying to share that little piece of information with you. There was a whole other conversation that we had on soccer, and that was pretty good. Another one of the PhDs that spoke to us, she actually wrote a book. I think it's called Look Again. Let me see. Look again. This is it right here. Tali Sharot. Sharot. Tali is the first name. Tali Sharot. Sharot. She wrote a book, Look Again, The Power of Noticing What Was Always There. And it was really, she did a really good job speaking to us about attention, where you put your attention, the things that you actually pay attention to, and how your attention changes through age. And then the other thing was anticipation and dopamine, and how anticipation grows. Anything that you can anticipate a little bit helps you focus, and how just to kind of to um, change the way that you look at things. Get your attention on things if you want to learn something. That's really what Dr. Huberman talked about. He talked about neuroplasticity, and neuroplasticity is basically your brain learning something new and then firing a pathway to keep that pathway going. Um, and she did a good job of coming back around and talking about paying attention and some of the things that was how you just. And I thought it was great because we had just had this conversation about attention last week. We had just had this conversation about right hemisphere, left hemisphere, and the four types of attention: vigilance, alertness, divided attention, sustained attention, that's on the right hemisphere, and that focused attention on the left hemisphere. And that comes from Dr. McGilchrist in the book, The Master and His Emissary. And so I thought it was really good to talk about attention for us. And I'm going to get this book, Look Again is what it's called. And the power of noticing what was always there. And she gave some super cool statistics about it. I don't know if I could get into these. They didn't give us their PowerPoints, so we'll have to go off our notes. But I was going to see if they would give us a little bit of that. Just a little bit about the book. It says, have you ever noticed what is exciting on Monday tends to become boring on Friday? Even passionate relationships, stimulating jobs, and breathtaking work of arts lose their sparkle after a while. As easy as it is to stop noticing what is most wonderful in our lives, it is also possible to stop noticing what is terrible. People get used to dirty air. They become unconcerned about their own misconduct, blind to inequality, and are more liable to believe misinformation than ever before. And so she talked. She said one of the things I learned from her was um, eat up the bad really fast and prolongate the good. Like, spread it out. Take lots of bites to the good. Meaning, if you want to, if something goes wrong in your day, see if you can quickly get over that and move along. But if something goes right in your day, spread that out and enjoy that a little bit. It's kind of interesting to say that out loud because I'm like, okay, that goes contradictory to a lot of, especially in the coaching world, it goes contradictory to a lot of the coaching stuff that we've done in the past. I may be the worst ever. I fret on that stuff all the time. Like, look, we can't do that this way. We're going to get beat, right? That we gotta do a better job instead of focusing a little bit more on the positive aspect of things instead of focusing on the negative aspect of things. And that's kind of what she was talking in the book. That was one of the things that she said is to stretch that out. And so I'll see if I can get that book. We'll do a book report on it, and I'll give you more information. But I just wanted to share it with you. Tally, Tali, Sharot, Sharot, and the book is called Look Again. Maybe it's look again. I don't know, but Look Again is definitely Look Again is the name of the book. The power of noticing what was always there. All right, there was a couple more speakers. I'll save them for tomorrow night. But I wanted to get to one of the big themes that all of the speakers talked about. Almost all of them talked about the necessity for getting good sleep, and that wasn't necessarily a big topic of discussion when I was going through chiropractic school. We've learned a lot about sleep. Dr. Huberman's done a lot to push sleep forward. Dr. Walker's done a lot to push sleep forward. We talked about him. One of our speakers that I'll go with tomorrow night talked about that. And so I just wanted to share with you, are you getting good sleep? Are you getting 7 to 9 hours of good, solid, restful sleep? And if you're not, it is very detrimental to your brain and to your body. It's very important that we get good sleep. And I wanted to go. I just got Dr. Walker's book, Why We Sleep. I went back here to the appendix, and I just wanted to go over his 12 tips for healthy sleep. Just to kind of wrap up the show tonight, I wanted to go over that with you. Just the things that he talked about. Number one, these are 12 tips for a healthy sleep from Why We Sleep from Matthew Walker, PhD. Number one, stick to a sleep schedule. Go to bed and wake up at the same time each day. As creatures of habit, people have a hard time adjusting to change in sleeping patterns. Sleep later on weekends won't fully make up for the lack of sleep during the week, and it will make it harder to wake up on Monday morning. So set your alarm, wake up, go to bed at the same times, and wake up at the same time. That's super hard to do when you got kids and they're playing in little league sports and they're in theater or whatever band or whatever little kids are in, and you're traveling around. Sometimes you don't even get home until it's time to go to sleep or past your bedtime. So there's some challenges to it, but that's one thing you could do if you were trying to increase your sleep. Number two, exercise is great, but not too late in the day. Try to exercise at least 30 minutes on most days, but no later than 2 to 3 hours before your bedtime. Okay? Avoid caffeine and nicotine. Coffee, colas, certain teas, and chocolates contain the stimulant caffeine, and its effects can take long as 8 hours to wear off fully. Therefore, a cup of coffee in the late night or afternoon can make it hard for you to fall asleep at night. Nicotine is also a stimulant, often causing smokers to sleep only very lightly. In addition, smokers often wake up too early in the morning because of nicotine withdrawal. So he's not saying that you can't have your coffee. He's just saying try to keep your coffee in the morning and not so much in the afternoon, so that you can get away from that. Avoid alcoholic drinks before bed. Having a nightcap or alcoholic beverage before sleep may help you relax, but heavy use robs you of REM sleep, keeping you in the lighter stages of sleep. Heavy alcohol ingestion also may contribute to impairment in breathing at night. You also tend to wake up in the middle of the night when the effects of the alcohol have worn off. That's twice he's saying that. Avoid large meals and beverages late at night. A light snack is okay, but a large meal can cause indigestion. Number 6, if possible, avoid medicines that delay or disrupt your sleep. Some commonly prescribed heart, blood pressure, or asthma medications, as well as some over-the-counter and herbal remedies for coughs, colds, and allergies. Be careful with your medications. Not telling you not to take them. Talk to your medical doctor about that. Don't take naps after 3 p.m. Naps can help make up for lost sleep, but late afternoon naps can make it harder to fall asleep. Number 8, relax before bed. Don't overschedule your day so that you have no time left for unwinding. Number 9, take a hot bath before bed. The drop in body temperature after getting out of the bath may help you feel sleepy. Number 10, make sure your room is dark and cool and gadget-free. Get rid of anything in your bedroom that might distract you from your sleep. Number 11, have the right sunlight exposure. Daylight is key to regulating daily sleep patterns. Try to get outside in natural sunlight for at least 30 minutes each day, especially in the morning. That's the initial stages of melatonin. Melatonin starts when you see sunlight in the morning. That's what I learned from Matthew Walker and Dr. Huberman. So, important pieces of information there. And then number 12, don't lie in bed awake. If you find yourself still awake after staying in bed for more than 20 minutes or so, you start to feel anxious and get worried and get all worked up. The anxiety is not going to help you sleep. Those are just 12 habits right there. We're out of time. I hope you guys got something out of that. We will be back tomorrow night at 6 with Life with Jason Clemmons, DC. You guys have a great night, and thank you for watching the show.